Hi everyone. Hello everybody. Hope you're good. Hope you're well. Hope you're alright. So this video will be on the elasticity of demand and supply. This is a part 2 video. We did part 1 last week. So here we go. So in our last video, we said you compute the price elasticity of demand by dividing the percentage change in quantity demanded by the percentage change in the price of the product. Okay, so we said this result is negative if the demand curve is downward sloping for normal goods. So for normal goods, when price goes up, quantity demanded goes down, so you have a negative relationship. We said this relationship is positive for luxury goods when you have an upward sloping curve. So remember what happens for luxury good: price goes up, quantity demanded also goes up. So the demand curve is upward sloping and you have a positive relationship between price and quantity. Okay, so we said it's also possible to calculate income across elasticity using the same formula. We said for income, what you would have is percentage change. So this symbol here means change, percentage change in quantity demanded divided by the percentage change in income. And that would give us our income elasticity. It's also possible to calculate cross elasticity. That will be percentage change in quantity demanded of good X divided by the percentage change in price of good Y. So a change in the price of good 1 is causing a change in the quantity demanded of good X. So for instance, maybe there's a change in the price of Pepsi. What effect will that have on the quantity demanded of Coca-Cola? So we did this last week. We also said that the formula to compute price elasticity, percentage change in quantity demanded, just like we saw in the last slide, divided by a percentage change in price. Now we said you can use this formula here because it gives you the same thing. So Q2 minus Q1 over Q1 times 100, that's your percentage change in quantity demanded. Okay, so that's quantity in period 2 minus quantity in period 1 over quantity in period 1 times 100. That gives you percentage change in quantity. This one over here, P2 minus P1 over P1, that is the same thing as a percentage change in price. So that's price in period 2 minus price in period 1 over price in period 1 times 100. You can just use this graph here and plug the numbers in. So your price is changing from P1 to P2, price is going upward, and your quantity demanded is moving down from Q1 to Q2. So you can just plug this in and there you have your relationship. This is a table summarizing different price, income, and cross price elasticities. So remember what we said, normally for normal goods, price goes up, quantity demanded goes down. So you have a negative relationship. That's sign on your price elasticity at the end will be negative. If it's greater than 1, that shows price elasticity. Okay, remember we said greater than 1 is price elasticity, equal to 1 is unitary or unit elasticity, and less than 1 is price inelasticity. So you can just look at this table and summarize these elasticities just to help you. Let's look at this one here, income. Right, so with income we know if our income increases and we consume more of the product, that's a positive relationship. It's a luxury good, right? And it's greater than 1. So that's our elasticity. And of course, that is a luxury item. So look at these, try and summarize them, and it will help. Our primary concern now is to find how we can compute the price elasticity of supply. So much like the price elasticity of demand, the price elasticity of supply measures how much the quantity supplied of a good responds to a change in the price of a good. So remember what's happening with your price elasticity of demand. Demand was responding to changes in price. Here, supply is also responding to changes in the price of that good. Okay, so we're measuring how much the quantity supplied of a good responds to a change in the price of that good. We calculated using this formula over here. So percentage change in quantity supplied divided by the percentage change in price of the product. Okay, now let's have an example over here. Okay, so we're told that assume when pizza prices rise 40%, the quantity of pizzas supplied rises by 26%. Using the above formula, what is the price elasticity of supply? Okay, so using the formula above, what is the price elasticity of supply? Right? So what's our formula? It's percentage change in quantity supplied divided by percentage change in price. So what's our percentage change in quantity supplied? That's 26%, and it's a positive increase, right? Rises. Okay, and we were told here the pizza prices also rise by 40%. So what does that give us? Okay, I'll just use my calculator over here. So that's 26 divided by 40, and my calculator says that is 0.65. So our price elasticity of supply here is 0.65. It is less than 1. It's not 0, but it's less than 1, meaning it is price inelastic. Remember, price inelastic between 0 and 1. Elastic would be above 1, and unielastic will be 1. Here it is less than 1, not 0, so it is price inelastic, and the value is 0.65. Okay, so our class activity for the week is to calculate the price elasticity of supply in question 1 and question 2. So question 1 says, if the price of a cappuccino increases 10% and supply decreases 20%, what is the price elasticity of supply? Question 2 says, if the price of bananas falls 12%, quantity supplied falls 2%, what is the price elasticity of supply? So use our formula. Don't forget, percentage change in quantity supplied divided by percentage change in price. Do this, and this is your first class activity for the week. Second class activity is to go out there and do some research, read some textbooks, go online, journal articles, and try to discover what factors determine the price elasticity of supply. So go out there, do some research, investigate what factors determine the price elasticity of supply. This should be interesting, and I'll see you in class. So what factors determine the price elasticity of supply? All right, before we are on our merry way, this is just an example to illustrate how supply curves react when they have different price elasticities of supply. Okay, so here we have two supply curves, S1 and S2. Now let's look at S1. Say prices rise from P0 to P1, so we have this price rise. What happens to S1? Quantity supplied increases from Q0 to Q1. Okay, so now what happens when the same thing happens to S2? So our second individual, so prices rise, once again identical to S1. Prices rise from P0 to P1, but what happens to quantity supplied? In this case, it grows by much more, from Q0 to Q2. So from here to here, as opposed to just from here to here for person 1. So what's happening? It means that S2 is more elastic. So what's happening? S2 is reacting more to a price change than S1. So S2 has a greater reaction to a price change than S1. Okay, so S1 just a bit, S2 much more. Okay, now there are different types of price elasticity of supply, but these types are very identical, similar, you name it, to the price elasticity of demand. So let's look at the types. Now, supply is perfectly inelastic if the elasticity of supply is 0. So the quantity supplied remains constant when the price changes. So price can change by as much as it wants. Quantity supplied remains the same. It remains constant. Supply is perfectly inelastic in this instance. Supply is inelastic if the elasticity of supply is between 0 and 1. So when the percentage change in quantity supplied is less than the percentage change in price. So what happens in this instance is, yes, as opposed to not having a change, there is a change in quantity supplied, but it is less than the percentage change in price. So it's less responsive. So your elasticity of supply is between 0 and 1, and we call this inelastic supply. It's not perfectly inelastic, but it is inelastic. Supply is unit elastic if the elasticity of supply is 1. So the percentage change in quantity supplied is equal to the percentage change in price. So everything balances out. The percentage change in quantity supplied, so the change in quantity supplied is equal to the percentage change in price. So it balances out. Change in price, quantity supplied changes by exactly the same proportion. So your elasticity of supply is 1, and we call that unit elasticity. Supply is elastic if the elasticity of supply exceeds 1. So what happens is the percentage change in quantity supplied is more than the percentage change in price. So when the percentage change in quantity supplied is more than the percentage change in price. So look at what's happening. You change your price, but the reaction is more than the change in price. So your elasticity of supply will exceed 1, and it is supply elastic. Now, supply is perfectly elastic as opposed to just being elastic. Now, it is perfectly elastic if the elasticity of supply is infinite. So the quantity supply changes by an infinitely large percent in response to a percentage change in price. So the quantity supply changes by infinitely more in response to a tiny price change. So tiny price change, infinite reaction. So you have perfect elasticity. Okay, so as an example, to probably help you understand better, let's look at perfect price inelasticity and perfect price elasticity. Let's start with the first, a perfectly price inelastic supply. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, can keep going. So that's our price. Let's have quantity. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and beyond. Okay, now let's look at this supply curve. Now, when price is 1, 4 items are supplied. Price is 2, 4 items are supplied. Price is 3, 4 items are supplied. Price is 4, 4 items are supplied. Price is 5, 4 items are supplied. Price is 6, 4 items are supplied, and on and on. So it doesn't matter what the price is, supply remains the same. This is a perfectly priced inelastic supply. Supply isn't reacting at all to changes in price. So our price elasticity of supply in this instance will be 0. So remember, price elasticity with percentage change in quantity supplied for percentage change in price. There will be no change in quantity supplied. Percentage change in quantity supplied will be 0. Price can rise by as much as it wants. Even if we have 100% increase in price, we will still have 0. So there you have a perfectly priced inelastic supply. How about perfect price elasticity? So here we can start at any quantity we want. So we start at 10. If we try to rise prices by the slightest, an infinite number of suppliers will come into the market, and if we try to drop it, an infinite number will leave. Okay, so our percentage change in quantity supplied over percentage change in price. Okay, so our percentage change in quantity supplied can rise by as much as it wants. Say 1,000 new people come in. Price hasn't even changed at all, so barely changed, so 0, and there you would have an error term, infinity, and that gives you your perfectly priced elastic supply curve. Everything else lies between. So maybe you have something like that for unit elasticity, something more towards the vertical for supply elasticity, and then something more towards the horizontal, right, for price elasticity. So this will be your price elasticity. So price elastic, this will be your unit elasticity, and this would be your inelastic. Okay, get rid of this city there. Okay, so there you have it. Okay, just to wrap things up, put it in context, give you an example. Over time, supply usually becomes more price elastic as more resources can move into an industry. So think about it. If you're the first supplier to get into the industry, you're the first person to produce the product, you're the first entrepreneur, you might not be able to affect your output. You can only supply so much, even if prices rise, above your wildest expectations. All right, so we are not really sensitive to prices in the immediate run supply. Okay, so in the immediate run supply, we usually very price inelastic. In the medium run supply, we become more price elastic because more people are coming into the industry, more people are supplying the product, there is more competition, and we are looking at the price level. Long run supply is usually very price elastic, okay, because we are very concerned about prices at this stage. If prices become too high for us, we might want to maybe leave the market altogether, or at least reduce how much we produce of the commodity. So your long run supply is usually very price elastic. So over time, supply usually becomes more price elastic as more resources can move into an industry. So just to summarize, and we can go, the concept of elasticity of demand and supply measures how sensitive demand and supply are to a change in a variable. It could be how sensitive they are to a change in price, a change in income, or even a change in the price of another commodity. An understanding of the elasticity of demand and supply will help a firm in its marketing, operations, and human resource activities, pricing, stock levels, and staff planning. So remember, if our elasticity is high as a company, do we want to play with our price level? Okay. Also, in terms of our price elasticity of supply, how sensitive supply is to prices. So, your class activities. Calculate the price elasticity of supply for these two products and what factors determine the price elasticity of supply. Okay, see you soon, folks. Have a fantastic week and be good.